Greetings, Zimbabwe, Africa, and the world. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, Devolution Series Part 4, brought to you by the Zimbabwe Human Rights Association, ZimRights, in partnership with the Embassy of Switzerland in Zimbabwe. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today, I'm in conversation with the Ambassador of Switzerland to Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Zambia, Niculin Jager. Enjoy this quality conversation. His Excellency Ambassador Niculin Jager, the Ambassador for Switzerland to Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Zambia. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, Devolution Series 4. You are our special guest and we're looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Trevor, and thank you for the invitation and hosting this series together with ZimRights. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's been amazing. It's been an educational trip even for myself. So, Niculin, today our focus is on equity, participation, and direct democracy. And the example of devolution in Switzerland, to me, has been very, very interesting. First of all, let's go back to 1848. Why did the Swiss Confederation choose this form of government, the devolution or the federal system? What were the special circumstances that led to, let's go with this form of government?
Thank you, Trevor. 1848 is a key moment in the history of modern Switzerland. Of course, we would have to take into account also what happened before, but talking on federalism, I think this is the key moment. It is when the constitution is brought to life and the federal state is created. Why this? Just a year earlier, in 1847, we saw the last civil war in Switzerland. It was a short war between the Protestants and the Catholics, the so-called Special Union War, the Sonderbundkrieg. And this war was kind of an eye-opener to the population and to the elites. And at that moment, people agreed to build up a federal state that the cantons, because the cantons date back much longer, the cantons were ready to delegate competences to a common center and to come together in a new federal state. That's the birth of the Swiss Confederation as we know it today, even if the name Confederation is misleading because this dates back much more. The Confederation is more a loose connection of a union of different states. No, but Switzerland in reality is a federation of 26 cantons and of several thousands of municipalities. It's over 2,300 municipalities, I think.
So let's drill down on those special circumstances. I want us to surface them. What were those special circumstances, issues that resulted in saying we will have the cantons ceding power to the central authority rather than the other way around? Because that's an important reversal of how I've understood devolution to be up to now.
I think for this we would have to look much more back in history. You know, just 50 years before we had the invasion by Napoleon of Switzerland. You know, and looking back, you know our history as a neutral state. But even before that, we also had a history of expansion. I think this would be a very long discussion to go through all the historic details. But I think the key is that there was never something like a strong center. You know, it is not a devolution that you say we had until now a strong central state and now we come up with a federal state. I would say it's a different history. It's the history that you had always strong cantons, strong provinces, no, with different connections among them and different linkages. And the moment was after, 1480 is also the moment when you have the bourgeois revolution all over Europe, no? That didn't triumph. So 48 for us means also it is a new start into a political modernity. And I think it's just that it was an eye-opener. The last civil war, that's not a long time ago, 1848. I think it was an eye-opener to the people that this should stop, this fighting, that the Catholics against Protestants, different language groups that could be allied to the more rural population or to the more urban population. Now, it came, I think, in a crucial moment also when you look into the history of Europe at that moment.
That's very important, Nick, because that says these are the reasons why it was introduced. So as to avoid another war, point number one. Point number two, so as to allow religious diversity and ethnic diversity to flourish. So the center was never strong because of that. Am I right, Nick?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think we really have to put on kind of some Swiss glasses to see the perspective that it's a bottom-up movement, that it's the sovereign in Switzerland is called the people. The people are the sovereign of Switzerland. No? There is a deep-rooted feeling and political culture among the Swiss citizens that the power lies with them. And they can decide on a local level, on a provincial level, the cantons, and on a federal level. No? And this feeling that you decide and that you belong to your own group, let's say the linguistic groups, no? We have 4 national linguistic groups, or the German speakers, the French speakers, the Italian speakers, and the Roman speakers, and they all came together as a nation of will. It is not, we don't even use the term that there is a French-speaking or an Italian minority, because the people believe that we have more things in common, that this diversity we have is something we have in common, and bringing the diversity together brings up, building up the state.
This is an important point, Nick, which is the people are sovereign. The people are sovereign, as opposed to what we have seen in the 3 examples that we've had, where the center decides which power, which aspects of power is going to cede. In this instance, you're very clear that the people are sovereign, the people are supreme, they're the supreme political authority, the people have the final word on most of the important topics in Switzerland. Speak to me about that, Nick, because to me that's special, that's unique, that's different from anything that I've seen as far as devolution and federalism is concerned.
Thank you, Trevor, for this question. There are 2 principles which are very closely linked. One principle is the principle of direct democracy, and the second principle is the principle of subsidiarity. Let us start with subsidiarity. Subsidiarity means that every task that can be done on a local level and as close as possible to the citizen should be resolved there.
Right.
And at the same time, the higher level, let's say this is in your community an issue, no? The higher level is not allowed to interfere into this matter. It's none of their business. So let's take a simple example. A good example might be a road. No, you have some potholes in a street in your village, your city. So who fixes the pothole? It's the city. No, but when it comes to potholes, or you have to refurbish the pavement between 2 cities, then this becomes the responsibility of the canton. Okay, so this road becomes a cantonal road. It's the canton who takes care of linking the 2 cities within the same road. When you come to the next level, you take a national highway that links different provinces. Then this is done on the federal level. This is what we call subsidiarity. And what is the advantage of it? We believe strongly that it brings the decision closer to the citizens and to the taxpayer, because the taxes a private person pays a bigger part of taxes to the municipality and canton than it does on the federal level. That's one principle. The second principle is direct democracy. Allow me to elaborate a little bit on this. Direct democracy means that, as you mentioned it earlier, the people are the sovereign. And they have the right to check the decisions that are taken on their behalf. Let's take the federal level. You have decisions, legislation done by parliament. The people are not fine with a new law. So they have 100 days to collect 50,000 signatures of eligible voters, of citizens that are eligible to vote. And they can submit 50,000 signatures. After that, the law has to be put at a nationwide vote, what we call a popular referendum. The second thing you have is you have an idea, you want to change something, you want to propose something. You can collect within 18 months 100,000 signatures and put it to vote also on a federal level. And that's one of the most known examples of direct democracy. We used to have, which now we have less, especially under these circumstances we're living now, with that you don't have big events anymore of people coming together. But historically, we also have that many of these decisions are made in direct contact on a local level. You know, you have these images where the whole community stands on the main square and votes on things lifting their hand. No? But you have this still on a smaller level. Many municipalities that are so small, I mentioned it to you, there are over 2,300. They don't have all a local parliament. No? But so they have also regular meetings where the mayor of this village questions or brings proposals up and that are directly voted. That's direct democracy.
I just want to emphasize the point, Nick, which for me is again unique. It starts from the bottom. It doesn't start from the top. It starts from the bottom, as small a unit as possible, and it goes up to the top, which is the parliament or the executive. That for me is a very unique way of direct democracy.
That's the idea behind it, and that's also the political culture behind it. You know, it is very important to consider the political culture of a country. This is something that doesn't move and evaluate very quickly. No, there are some crucial moments in history, like a revolution or a crisis, a major crisis, where the system might be adapted and people might change. But the political culture of Switzerland is the one of direct democracy, of a constant check and balances. No, so when you're an MP, you know, we have a bicameral system. No, one is by two. Each canton delegates two, like you have a senate. No, you call it a senate, but it's a representation. No, that's also a system of federalism, that every unit has the same amount of delegates in the senate, and then you have a majority national assembly. No. And this puts kind of also pressure on the politician. You know, he knows that he answers to its own constituency, but that also the constituency has the right to question the legislative work he's doing.
Let's look at the structure now, Nick. So it's a federal state with three political levels: the federal government and cantons. There are 26 cantons, am I right? And there are 2,324 municipalities. That's the structure. Talk to me about that structure.
Well, look, the structure, I think it's interesting to start with the federal government, no?
Yes.
The federal government consists of, on a political level, consists only of 7 ministers, no? And these 7 ministers, one of them is the primus inter pares, no? Is the president on a rotating basis for 1 year. And the 7 ministers, they are not all from the same parties. No? They are from 4 different parties. There was for many years a magic formula, how many minister seats are allocated to which parties, no? Which also comes under question when new parties build up, but it's a very stable system, no? And it's very consensus and compromise driven, because they have to decide together, no? As 7 ministers, because the president is only the primus inter pares, no? So this already reflects the whole compromise and consensus building and how decisions are taken on the top of the federal government.
Just on that, so the Federal Council is actually the head of state. Switzerland does not have a head of state as a person. It's the Federal Council, which is a group of 7 equals, which are the head of state. I found that unique and fascinating, Nick. I mean, that's a good place to be in.
Most likely. We should ask the federal councillors what they think, if they would like to have more power, how they see how this system is working. You know, there is also discussions there should be in the future perhaps 9 federal councillors, no? As the population is growing and you have more challenges and you should be more specific. It might not always be an ideal system when you speak to the world, no? So who is in charge? You know, do you have a prime minister who runs the show or not? Or do you have a powerful president that will remain for years, no? So there might be some challenges. But I think within Switzerland, the system has clear advantages, because it might take longer to come to a decision, but once the decision is taken, it might have a broader base.
Which is the exact opposite of the strong man syndrome. In this instance, there is no strong man or strong woman in the room. It's 7 politicians who are equals, and they have to reach a consensus before they make a move. And in most instances, these are head of political parties. And I see now there's a move that maybe the Greenpeace might want to have a seat, and that gets expanded to 8. Am I correct there, Nick?
Yeah, I think it might not soon expand on 8. 8 might be then again a difficult mathematic figure, no? When you have then 4, but normally they avoid majority votes. They look for consensus, no? But even so I think it should be then 9. For the moment, what I see more, it depends all how well the parties are doing at parliamentary elections, no? So this builds up their case of how they're going to be represented at the Federal Council, no? So for the moment, as we have seen, the Green Liberals, they made a very good score at the last elections. So there is a movement that they want to be represented at the Federal Council. But of course, the question is which party would drop one of their ministers. No? But
right. So
this is something that evolves very, very, very slowly. No?
Okay. So that's the federal government. Let's move on now to the cantons. And there's 26 of them. Speak to me about their role, their functions, and that kind of stuff.
With pleasure. Look, the 26 cantons, they have a lot of autonomy. No? They have their own constitution. They have their own courts. They have their own tax system. No? So again, when we looked at from how it's done from bottom up, the cantons have, let's say, the biggest freedom. No, they have, together with the municipalities, they have the organizing political power in Switzerland. They take care of the daily businesses. No, and as they have their own constitution and their own courts, their own parliaments, there are fully fledged political entities. And the same is true for municipality. There, of course, it depends even much more on the size. So also with the cantons, we have very strong cantons with a lot of inhabitants and strong financial resources, while we have other small cantons, or we have big cantons, like my canton I come from, Graubünden, Grison, which is the biggest, but it's not very densely populated because it covers a lot of the mountains, So they, of course, then the municipalities are different. If you have just a village that constitutes still a municipality, or if you have a city like Zurich, which is a municipality too. So but the functions, the key essence remains the same. So whatever can be done by the municipality, it's done by the municipality.
So, and the cantons have a big role in their ability to change constitutions through the processes that you've outlined. Am I right there?
Yes, there is also, besides the popular initiative, which are the people who bring forward, also the cantons can bring forward legislation, of course. And of course, the cantons are represented at the both chambers, be it at the National Council, be it at the Senate. So the cantons are, or their delegates are well represented on the federal level.
And then we have the municipalities, 2,300 of them. How much power do they have as compared to the cantons? You've said lots of power resides with the cantons. What happens down at municipal level, Nick?
They run all the daily affairs, The municipality takes care of the daily life of its citizens. So what we started before with the example of the road, But you can take electricity, You can take the basic needs in your municipality. That's the job of the municipality. It's not whatever they can do in the subsidiary principle, what they can do on their own, they do it on their own. There is no national health plan, So it comes also up, bottom up, And then the canton will look. You cannot have a hospital in every municipality, of course, There is an interaction then between municipality and canton, of course.
What I've also found interesting, Nick, is the structure of the Swiss federal system. That within the federal level, the canton level, and the municipal level, you'll find the judiciary, you'll find the executive, you'll find service delivery at all those levels. So it's you don't need to go to the capital city to get certain services. You get them where you are.
Exactly. That's another consequence, of this principle, that the administration is rather close to the people, Yeah. So that many services you take it from the provincial level.
Let's move to the instruments of direct democracy, and talk to me about the popular initiative, the optional referendum, and the mandatory referendum, rather, because that's direct democracy, that's popular participation. Talk to me about those levels. Let's start first of all with the popular initiative, and then go to the optional referendum, and then the mandatory referendum.
I think the popular initiative is the most well-known direct democracy element we have in Switzerland and known to the world, So that in Switzerland we say any idea can be brought up and made legislation, And I think this is a fantastic idea, Because it shows the citizen that you want to change something, you want to propose something, yes, you can. And the parties and NGOs, associations can shape policy directly, And it's also an expression of the feeling of the population, Are they fine with the actual life they are having? Would they like to change something? Is something not that should be dealt with at the national level? So this possibility of collecting the 100,000 signatures I mentioned, I think it's a fantastic instrument of direct democracy.
Mm-hmm. And then the optional referendum?
The optional referendum is not every law, the legislative, it would be nonsense that if Parliament does its work, that every law in the end should also be voted by its citizen. That would be not feasible. Mm-hmm. But there is an optional referendum. So if a group of citizens or a citizen is not fine with an upcoming legislation that has been voted already by Parliament, this is called the optional referendum. You collect the 50,000 signatures, and it's put at a nationwide referendum.
Mm-hmm. And then the mandatory referendum?
The mandatory is every constitutional amendment. So you want to amend the constitution, you face the will of the people. And this is true also on the cantonal level, as they have their own constitutions too, So you have to ask the citizen. And not to go into details, but to make it even more difficult, it often doesn't only need, depending on the question of the on the mechanism of initiative, referendum and mandatory referendum, it also asks for the majority of the cantons. So it's not fine enough just that the majority of citizens that might be concentrated in some region vote yes. No, you also will need to amend the constitution. As an example, you also need that all 26 cantons, the majority of it, not all of them, the majority agrees on it. So that makes it sometimes very difficult to change something, but it also gives stability to the system.
I found this statistic very interesting, Nick, that Switzerland has 1% of the world's population, but over the 20th century, it has had 60% of the referendums in the world. Talk to me about the pros and cons of this system of government, Nick.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning this. Indeed, it's an incredible figure, no? So it looks like that we're going to vote every Sunday, which is not true. People might still go to church every Sunday, but voting, I think nationwide votes are held most likely 4 times a year, no, depending on the year. But and then on top of this, you might have some local votations. But look, let me start with the negative. No, I already made so much publicity for the Swiss case so far.
Yeah.
The negative is, or not the negative, but the challenge is how you assure an enough high participation of the citizen. No? Right. How do you avoid that they get tired? No, and that in the end you might have just 30% of the voters that participate. This is even more true that now Switzerland is a country of immigration. No? We used to be a country also of emigration. Many Swiss people left in the past the country and to go abroad. But now we're a very strong country of immigration. So 25% of the population are not Swiss citizens. So they do not have a national right to vote. Some communities now are coming up with new proposals so that they can participate in the political life on a lower level at least, which is a very interesting development. But there you have a problem, no? When 25% of the population that lives in your country can not vote on these big questions, no? Mm-hmm. And if other people abstain. I think these are probably some of the most structural challenges. Another challenge is, of course, how do you collect 100,000 signatures, no? So if we two together stand out in the street, you might collect much more because you're a well-known person in the country. So you might, or you might have a good organization in the background, that helps you. So there are sometimes voices that say, look, it's the NGOs and the parties who are able to propose initiatives. But for a common citizen, it is difficult. He will have to find a lot of friends and convince them. This is okay because Switzerland is a country of associations, People are so active in all sorts of different clubs, sport club association, political, environmental group, NGOs, and so forth. So it is possible to challenge your interest into this. But there is also a problem. You can pay people to collect signatures. So, you can tell some students, please go out and with your paper, with your arguments, stand in the street, talk to the people, convince them of your initiative and that they sign up. So there is, of course, a problem that you could inject a lot of money. It will be still put at vote. No, you will still have to also to run an expensive campaign. But that, of course, not everyone has these financial means. And it could, at the long term, and here, if I'm allowed to say so, our legislation, the law on how you finance a party, the transparency, that is still an issue in Switzerland.
Okay. You raised the issue of low participation being a negative. What do you do to ensure that participation continues to be high, that the citizens are engaged with issues? Is that an issue that has caused people to focus on and say participation is low? Is that an issue?
Yes, it is an issue, and I think the politicians are well aware of it. You know, they also want to be elected. No, they want to do a good job, and they know that in the end of the day, the voter is going to make his final decision. Is he going to be re-elected or no? So the politician, also the Federal Council, tries to reach out a lot to the population, and you know, in indirect contact. You know how we have a good security in Switzerland, so the politicians move freely, in the country. So many people get a chance even to chat to the president in public transport and so on. So you have to be in close contact. And as your party, and it's as you're coming from the bottom up, your political career, not different to Zimbabwe. You might first be a councillor in your municipality, and then you go up through the party, through the different local and national parliaments. You build up your career. So this allows you to be in touch with the population. The other thing is, of course, education. So children right from primary school, they get an idea about the political system, and history, geography. And also because you might belong to a language group, you also perhaps have a different topography. When you live in the mountains, your interest might be different than when you live in a big city. So this also enhances participation, that people see the value of participating, but it remains a challenge.
You talked, Nick, about people being able to meet their president, talk to their president. My sense is that not a lot of people in Switzerland know who their president is, or do they care who their president is? Because the president gets changed every 2 years. And in any case, the president does not have as much power as an African president might have. Am I right there, Nick?
I'm not sure about that. You can be a strong politician also when you're seven sitting together in the same room. Right. I think I think some people might in the beginning of the year not remember who had been elected in December as the new president. But I think throughout the year that changes quickly, and as I laid it out earlier, the president is trying to get in direct contact with the population as much as he can. But of course, as it changes every year, even not every 2 years, every year, so there is not this continuity that every child and every person knows who is the president and so on. But that's the price of this system of consensus and of compromise. The role of a strong president would probably put this under a test. When the other ministers would feel that in the end it's always the president who takes the final decision.
I mean, for me, that's the beauty of the Swiss system. The fact that power is shared by these 7 people. For me, that looks like the beauty. At the center, Nick, of the Swiss system of government is keeping a very diverse population together. A population that is different in religion, geography, linguistic differences, religious differences, institutions are different, but it's all kept together. What keeps us together, Nick?
The will of the people, that they want to be Swiss, they want to live together in a state, they want to shape their future, they want to participate in this democracy. That keeps them together. I imagine many Swiss believe that this system is unique, the system has clear advantages, And if you look how well people are doing and how well respected the institutions are, I think they have a good business case to believe so.
So they all want to belong to the system. They all want to participate to ensure this prosperous, successful nation continues to succeed. That's what you're saying, Nick.
That's what I firmly believe. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this principle of direct democracy, federalism, and which perhaps I could bring up also of the equity and of the solidarity. You know, there is also something if you live in a region that has less access to resources. No, there is a vertical financial solidarity between the cantons. So you imagine a strong canton like Zurich, no, with a strong city of Zurich. They have to put at disposal 500 million per year for this vertical equilibration. So while the canton of Bern, where the capital is, which has less income, but also has big needs because it's also a big canton, they get out of this system 800 millions into their budget. So that's kind of a beauty of solidarity, that the provinces see that this works, no? There is competition among the cantons, no? There's even tax competition among them. And sometimes there is a question how healthy these competitions are, but at the same time you have this solidarity. And at the same time you have a vertical equity, a vertical solidarity that the federal government also puts funds at disposals for the regions, for the cantons. So I think that's also what holds people and politicians together, that they see that it is worth to compromise, to come together. And, sometimes I think there is a wrong argument that the central states, they fear federalism because they think federalism equals separatism. I think we are the living example that this is not the case. No one tries to run away. No. And of course, you can say this is a very small state. Where should you go? Yeah, you could connect to the neighboring countries, perhaps, or you could, again, like we used to have it in the past, some unions of some cantons. So, but having said this about central state, I think the federal system has a clear advantage when you have a big diversity. Let's take our case, no? How you can run it, and together this shared rule also giving the region a self-rule so that they're autonomous, no? Combining two elements of participation means shared rule and elements of self-rule on a canton level. And the other thing is when the states are very big, it might also be a good formula. If you look that about 40% of the world population lives in federal state, it cannot be so bad, the system, no? And some of the very big ones. So it might be a good political principle, how to organize your state when you're very big, like Brazil, no? More than 200 million inhabitants. They also have a structure, funnily, of 26. They have 26 federative states, no? Not cantons, but seems to be a magic number. Russia is also a federative state. The US is built up, of course, with different mechanisms. And the third point, probably also, when you have a crisis or you're coming out of crisis, when you have to do a new process of nation building or of statehood, then federalism might also be a good instrument how you want to share power within your state.
You raise a point, Nick, about why would they want to run away. Tell me, is there a clause in the Swiss constitution about secession as far as the cantons are concerned?
The last time that this question was actual was the foundation of the canton of Jura, It's only 42 years ago that we got a new canton, the canton of Jura, okay? And there again, you could say, what is this? Separatism, what is at risk? Terrorism, civil war, and so on. And there again, I think federalism proved itself that we were able to find a solution, that the canton concerned, canton of Bern, with the population of Jura, they were able to compromise on that issue. They had a hard time to do so, but they were able. And at the end, it was put at a nationwide vote. So all other regions, all other people of Switzerland voted on this should the people of Jura have their own canton with all the competences that go along? And people were in favor, which I think is the beauty. And the secession is not something, or separatism is not something that is at the political table. In the past, there were regions from neighboring states that asked to join Switzerland, but that the population voted down. That's rather funnily so. Other countries might have voted yes to become bigger, but the Swiss voted it down.
Well, what's true, Nick, is that there could be a pull factor that says you've got German speaking, you've got Italian speaking, you've got French speaking. There could be a pool, but because this thing is working so well, nobody wants to run away from this thing. Which brings me to the next point, Nick, that you find in a number of constitutions there's a clause about secession. Okay. And for me, it looks like the argument against secession is devolving power to the grassroots rather than holding power at the central level. You devolve power to the last person in the queue, they want to stay in the queue. But you hold all the power to yourself, as happened in two centralized governments. People want to break away because they don't have power. So I think for me, it appears that the solution to stopping secession is giving everybody as much power as possible down to the canton and to the municipal level. Talk to me about that.
I think this is a good argument, you know. I firmly also believe that, you know, vertical central power is limited. No, if you're a democracy, you want to make sure that people participate. You know, so and now in our times, you know, societies, they are more heterogeneous. They have different interests, and what is new due to technology, they're also able to articulate it very quickly. No, so how can you, as central power, which is not in close contact with the people, know what the people want? No? Why don't you give them the competence to decide the things of their day that matters to them, of their daily life? And it might be a good opportunity also to avoid such movements of separatism and so on, because often these are elite driven. You know, it's also an elite who is not fine with the political participation, so that they say we are under pressure of this ethnic group or of that party or of so that they make up their business case and use then ethnicity, nationalism, and things like this as to try to bring up a common marker for some people, no, to build up their case of secession or of nationalism and so on. But you know what we think about nationalism. You know, it's an imagined community. You know, you have more in common with people than you would know. No.
And I think, to me, Switzerland proves in a very strong way, Nick, that the people know what they want. The people know how the services that they need. The people know the infrastructure that they need. It's not the center that knows. The center should keep away from how the people want to govern themselves. To me, Switzerland, with 8.6 million, makes that a very, very strong case to me, Nick.
Thank you, Trevor. That might be true. And I think it also has to do something probably with the tax system, you know, because as you pay more taxes on a lower level, no, you are also more demanding. You want to see that the things in your community and your canton is done, no, because you pay a fair share of taxes. Even if the overall tax system of Switzerland is, of course, the federal state has more tax income, no, but that's mostly indirect taxes, no, like VAT and other things, and on capital gains and so on. But on income, a common person pays mostly to the municipality and to the canton, no, and to the federal level he pays less. So I think he wants to see what is done with the taxes, no. And the other thing is about articulation, that when you know that you have some mechanisms at disposal and you're just, let's say, protesting, you know, or just criticizing the bureaucrats, what everyone might do from time to time. No, at the same time, you also know you would have some instrument at disposal to change things. So if you want to change, join a movement, join a social movement, join a syndicate, a trade union, a political party. So it also can canalize a lot of these articulation which otherwise might go somewhere else.
I've been reading this book, Why Nations Fail. And the opposite of that is why nations succeed. Nations succeed when the people feel included in political decision making. Nations succeed if they feel included in the economic decision making and they are consulted. And Switzerland, I mean, the prosperity is there for all to see in terms of per capita income. So this experiment works. Nick, if somebody were to say, fine, it works, what would be the cautionary things that you would say to people? Do not do A, B, C, D. Yes, Switzerland works, but there are certain things that would say don't do or look out for. What would be your cautionary words to somebody who, like me, who is so excited about this, the Swiss way of government, to say, hey, be careful about A, B, C, D?
Well, I think you have to start with a good ideological free analysis. No, what do you need? What do you want? You know, like Zimbabwe has done with the new constitution, no, and devolution process. What are the specific goals you want to reach? You want to give more power to the regions. You want to have an equilibration about regions that have resources and regions that have less resources. No, you want to become more transparent. So this is the things you have to first do. Then the second thing is, I think you have to avoid an ideological debate. No, you know what, perhaps you have an idea what you want, but avoid the ideological debate. This debate you just mentioned before about separatism or not, you know, what does it mean? And also try to change the perspective. Don't look at it that it's just the power in the center that gives away power, no? And it's up to the center to decide what he's giving away, no? I think the lesson shows of many powerful men that this vertical approach is limited. You might be more powerful if you have a broad horizontal base. And you should invest in your base. The vertical might be important, you know, when it comes to foreign policy, to military, and so on. You know, there are some issues the state has to do vertically, no? Even it can still consult, but and the other things, I think you should reach out to the people, listen to them, hear, and what can be done best at what level. I don't say you have, I think you cannot import the Swiss model to other countries, but you can have a look at different models and see what works, what does not work. As I mentioned earlier, no, there are also challenges, no? You see sometimes have a mechanism of popular vote that they can make a referendum on something, no? But they do it very rarely, and it might be driven not by content, it might be driven by political means, you know? So you put something at vote that might be misused by some populist movements, no? So when you delegate this power away, you have also to be fine to live with the result. So are the institutions able to explain the content? Are they able to live with the result at the end of the day? I think these are all questions that you have to think about it when you start this discussion about central state, federal state. You know, there is not one system that perhaps is better than the other. We firmly believe that for our state and for our nation, the federal system is the solution. But you might bring me up a case where you say this is a classical central power built up through history like this, with very good institutions, with very good mechanisms, which also allow participation and democracy at a lower level. I don't think that one excludes the other.
So there's 4 national languages in Switzerland, and these national languages are German, French, Italian, and Romansh. And Nick, you speak 7 languages. I mean, I envy you. That's a lot of languages for one person. Tell me, how important is language as a part of allowing people to freely express themselves and as a part of cementing this federal system? Is language an important thing? And are all languages taught throughout the country? Talk to me about that.
I think languages, in any case, wherever you live in the world, is something that opens you to the world, no, and gives you access to the world. So learning languages is never wrong, no. And in the case of Switzerland, it is very special that we are speaking languages that our neighboring states are speaking too, no. So that gives you already an idea how useful it might be to learn German, because it is the most spoken language in Europe. In reality, we grow up speaking Swiss dialect German, no? It's a dialect of German. We do not write it, we just talk it. We talk it in the radio, in the family, but when it comes to writing, we have the grammar of, let's call it a high German. It's often a standardized German, no? And the same is true also for many other countries. You know, there is not only one Italian or one French, no, in the world. So there is a standard language and there is your community language, no. And Switzerland is sometimes people think that all Swiss people speak all languages. That's not true, no. So you might learn 1 or 2 in school, but we have a territorial principle. So that means the cantons are not obliged to offer when you live in Zurich. I don't know why I'm taking today always Zurich as an example. I should take Chur, my hometown, as an example. But I don't take my province as an example because in my region there are 3 languages. But you take one province, one canton that has only 1 language. So the canton of Zurich has no obligation to offer schooling in Italian and in French or in Romansh, okay? Because it's a territorial principle. So when you move with a French-speaking family moves from Geneva to Zurich, they will have schooling in German. No? So, and on the local level, they will also have to be in contact with the authorities in the language of the territory of this canton. While at the federal level, they can still remain engaged in their native language, which would be French. No? So this is an important principle. I'm not sure that it's the perfect solution, but it is what it is, no? And so far it functions. The challenge is, how do you motivate people to learn the language of the other people of Switzerland, no? One thing that was done in the past is that you go there for summer holidays, extended holidays, that you work there in agriculture, you know, you help out during the summer period and you learn French, or you go to a school there for a moment. Another option was military service, as it's mandatory. So the soldiers are moved to different regions. You get in touch there also with other languages, no? Or universities, you go to universities, the universities in Switzerland on a cantonal basis, by the way. So you go to another university. But the cantons, they take care of it. They all know, and it's the clear will of the federal government that a second language has to be taught in school, no, a second national language. So it depends on the level of education, and it depends also on your work. How much do you use the second language, you know? Are you going to live in another canton? Are you working with them? It's like with any other language, no?
I suppose that there are certain functions that are exercised at the federal level. And I would think that defense is one of them and foreign policy is one of them. Which other functions are exclusively for the exercise of the federal government? Postal
services is an example. National roads is an example. The railway is an example. Some communications, no? If the mobile operators and so on. There are many of these nationwide issues that are directly dealt with. Of course, also the federal tax system, no? Migration policy and so forth. But the important topic is that many of these things, even foreign policy, is still done in consultation with Parliament, and it's still done in consultation with the cantons, because so many cantons are bordering the neighboring states.
First of all, I must thank you on behalf of ZimRights for your support of this devolution series, 3 of them. We come to the final one of them today with you, Nick. Now then, parting shots, any thoughts on stuff that I might not have touched on that you would want to share regarding the devolution process that will soon be rolled out in Zimbabwe?
Well, I think as Swiss, I would say use this devolution process to make your nation and your state fit for the decades to come. You know, any system should be open to reform, and it's not important if you have a political form, a governmental form, if you have inherited it 100 years, 200 years ago, 50 years ago. Societies are evolving, the economic is different than before, you know, the world is changing. So use this process to get ready for the decades and centuries to come, and involve the citizen as much as you can, because I firmly believe that the closer you are, and it's like in any business, you know, the more the decisions are endorsed by your own staff, by your own citizens, the better the decision is. And in the end, it's a win-win process. That would be my idea and my wish to devolution processes in Zim and in the world.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Nick, allow me to tend to our viewers all over the world, in Zimbabwe, across the continent, in the diaspora, who follow this show every week. Thank you so much for watching In Conversation with Trevor. To ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, please, we invite you to click on this subscribe button, and so that you get notification every time we have these quality conversations. So until next time, thank you all for watching, and cheers.